Hello and welcome to the viewers of this video. This is the Orange Fan here, bringing you another entry for Franchise Overview. Now, as the title of this video indicates, it'll be talking about the iconic anthropomorphized animal team franchise, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now, my history with it is probably a bit different compared to some others, because it was a franchise I was definitely aware of, but I never really saw the main, I guess you could call it the main products or the main entries. Well, to be a little more specific, my older brother was a big fan of the franchise growing up as a kid. And whether he saw a lot of the show or not, the show that aired during the 80s and the 90s, some fans these days call it the Fred Wolf series. I'm not sure if he saw a lot of it or not, but I only ever really saw a handful of episodes, and even then it was like very faint memories of it. And it wasn't until much later when I came to know of its source material, the Mirage comics. But my exposure was mostly through my brother being a fan of the franchise. So I still knew the Turtles' names: Leonardo, Donatello, Raphael, Michelangelo. I knew about their enemy Shredder and their mentor Splinter, their ally April O'Neil, and I knew about the alien Crane, who now I learned was, well, later on I did learn that he was sort of inspired by the Utrom aliens of the Mirage comics. But it was mostly through supplementary material. Besides my brother, it was mostly supplementary material that I became more familiar with the Turtles. It was more like those picture books, and action figures. We did have quite a bit of the action figures. So that was more how I knew them. And even later on, when there was the show during the 2000s, they call it the 4Kids series, most fans do. Even then, I only ever saw a handful of episodes from the 4Kids series. And I've seen, and I think that was maybe around the time when I learned about how it started as a comic series. So it was, for the longest time, a franchise I knew existed. I had a faint familiarity with it, but I guess you could say I wasn't quite as closely connected to it as my older brother was. But then that changed in this decade with the CGI series Nickelodeon has made. It started in 2012, and it's actually currently in the middle of its last season, at least at the time of the recording of this video. That was actually the first time I decided, I've never seen a full series, and I've never read the full comics before. I might as well give this a shot. Let this be my main, I guess you could say, my proper entry into it. And yeah, I've watched the whole series, and I do plan to finish up the last episodes once they do eventually become available to the public. And it is what eventually led me to learning more about the franchise, and I even got some of my other extended relatives. They were more in the age group that the show was aimed for, and they started to watch it. One of them actually still speaks to me about it regularly from time to time, and they eventually learned about the other entries as well, and they've looked it up. But yeah, I can definitely see why it has a lot of appeal. And recently I have been catching the movies, the live action movies for it. And I even managed to see the Fred Wolf series, 4Kids series crossover movie, Turtles Forever, recently. So yeah, I think it's a fun franchise, and yeah, maybe I'm really considering exploring the other entries to it besides the CGI series. But yeah, I think it's definitely one of the different entryways, because mine was definitely not one of the standard ways people would get into a franchise, but it was definitely an interesting tale for me, at least. And I don't know, maybe some of you have something similar, maybe it's different for you, and I guess that's the fun thing about getting into franchises is there's always a story to tell. But yeah, I think I might cover the TMNT in other videos, so I figure, yeah, I'll do this as my introduction for how I came to know this beloved franchise and how mine was not quite as straightforward compared to some other fans. So, exactly which ones, though? I think I'll have to think it over a little more before I decide. But, yeah, you can expect to see the Heroes in a Half Shell in the future. I'm not sure how frequently, but you can expect to see them at some point in time. Take care, and until next time.